Gab, this is a big few days coming up for Manchester City. We know that the appeal of the ban they had from UEFA over financial fair play regulations from 2 years in the Champions League plus the FT fine, they appealed to it and they will raise their case at the CAS between June the 8th and June the 10th, so starting on Monday until Wednesday. What do you think we can expect from those 3 days regarding Manchester City and the CAS?
So there's a lot of stuff that's still pretty unclear here. What we do know is that it's not going to be public, and again, that's something that kind of bugs me because they've had cases in front of CAS. CAS has said we're open to having public cases, but we would like, if both sides have to agree to have it public, have it streamed, have media in attendance. And already, just off the top, that bugs the crap out of me, frankly. And I blame. It's one of the two, right? Either City or UEFA or both didn't want to have this public. And I think it's significant because so much stuff has been shrouded in, no, this is confidential information, or you can't know this. And the reality is, we don't know what is in the entire. We don't know what is in UEFA's case against Manchester City. We don't know what irrefutable evidence Manchester City have. That they claim to have. Yeah. We don't know anything here.
But we
right?
know what football leagues have showed us in terms of how City have dealt with their account and the money they've spent and financial fair play rules.
Yeah, and that is the basis of I think why this case was reopened. But that is only part of the picture. Again, City say, those emails are out of context. I mean, personally, I don't understand City's strategy at all here because certainly in public, they've given like little smidgens of defense, right? They say these emails are out of context, but then they don't. And then they say they're the result of a hack, but then they don't give a context. They don't even admit which ones are real, which ones are not. So the whole thing is pretty confusing. What we can talk about and is the potential fallout here, and what the procedure is going to be now. The hearings are scheduled in those 3 days. They won't necessarily take 3 days. The way CAS works, for those who don't know, is that there are 3 judges. CAS has a list of judges who are mostly sports lawyers, former judges, experts on sport. CAS as an organization, they name one person. City will name one person out of the list. And UEFA will have named one person out of the list. You can cross veto to some degree if you think somebody's not going to be fair. But those are going to be the 3 judges who are going to go. First of all, they're going to decide if City violated UEFA's financial fair play regulations, or they're going to have to decide whether the punishment was fair and commensurate with what City were accused of. Obviously, we know it's a 2-year ban from European football, and we know that it's a fine. They can either uphold it. They can reduce the fine. They can kick it back to UEFA and ask more questions, or it's not even UEFA, it's the independent club financial control body of UEFA. So there's a lot of question marks, but we don't also know when the verdict is going to come out, because the Mirror, for example, here in England, reporting that it could take 2 months. I certainly hope it won't take 2 months, because this is something important. It's going to have a knock-on effect for next season of Champions League, and it's going to have a knock-on effect in the Premier League, because, as you know, if they're suspended, the 5th place team, again, assuming City finish in the top 4, which we can assume they will get that extra Champions League spot.
And also you have to think that if the ban stays, what does happen to Pep Guardiola? What's happened to Kevin De Bruyne? I don't know who, all the superstars who. Can they really afford not to play in the Champions League for 2 years? I mean, Kevin De Bruyne is not getting any younger, and surely he would want to be playing in the Champions League for the next 2 years. What will Pep Guardiola do? How much of an impact do you think that could realistically have? I mean, let's say the ban is reduced to 1 season. I guess they can afford maybe for 1 year not to be part of the Champions League. As De Bruyne, Guardiola, and those kind of people, Laporte, I don't know, whoever. If it's 2 years and that stands, if it's increased, let's say to 3 years, I don't know, anything, surely that's too long without Champions League for those kind of people, no?
Yeah. So first of all, I don't believe they can increase it to 3 years.
Okay.
I don't think you can make it longer. I think 2 years is the maximum ban. I think it will have an impact from Pep. I mean, every indication from those around him is that even if they're banned, it's not going to affect his decision. He's going to stay. De Bruyne is a different issue. He's spoken out about this. If it's a longer ban, I might have to reconsider my position. There's contractual issues as well, because this is going to cost, if they are banned, this is going to cost City a lot of money in terms of prize money, first and foremost, in terms of the sponsorship contracts that they can sign, because obviously they would have less visibility if they're not in the Champions League. But still, it's going to have an impact. They're not all with Emirati companies. And it's going to have a longer knock-on effect, because this lack of revenue, is going to protract itself down the years. It means that they're going to have to presumably ask players to take pay cuts or not spend as much money, which will make them weaker, which means that they're going to earn less money in the short term domestically. So, look, they're super confident. But one thing I want to make clear, and I'm going to write about this, is, and this has been a very ugly thing with people saying being really, really aggressive on both sides. One thing I want to make clear is, and what I hope we find out, is where does the buck stop? Because if City did do something, if City did cook the books, as is alleged, if they did engage in fraud, right? We're talking about very complicated legal issues. How far up the chain does it go? Does it go to Sheikh Mansour? Does it go to Silver Lake and the Chinese media company, who are also shareholders? I would assume not. Does it go as high as Soriano and Khaldoon? Yeah, maybe. Probably, but then again, Soriano and Khaldoon, those guys aren't lawyers, right? So they hire lawyers.
Someone must have given the green lights to do so, right?
Oh, yeah, they gave the green light, but you do it based on legal advice. And this is what bugs me in this. They have lawyered up, right? And you know my feelings on lawyers, right? I've made them very clear. Lawyers tend to tell you what you want to hear some of the time, right? So it'll be interesting if they are found guilty. I hope from on high, from the owner, from above Khaldoon if necessary, from Silver Lake, they come out and say, okay, so the people who gave us bad advice, wrong advice, we're going to cut them loose because this is what's happened. Final point on this. There's endless talk about, this is the final level of appeal that you can go to in sport. If you want to go beyond that, you risk serious sanction. You can go to the Swiss courts. You can go to the European Court of Justice. It's been talked about forever. It's never been done. I don't think it's going to get to that point. I would like a resolution that people accept this summer, whatever it is.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.